Okay, guys, so I thought I would start just about 5 minutes early, just so that everyone can get in and make themselves comfortable and all those things. So if you're watching this, everything is normal. We're going to start in about 5 minutes. So it's currently, what time is it? 12:56. So yeah, 4 or 5 minutes, just so that everyone gets the notification from Facebook and I don't want anyone to miss anything. So feel free just to say hi. Let me know where you're watching from, or if you want to say anything else, feel free to do so in the comments. Wow, we have 120 already. That's amazing. I think we've nearly 100 or 90 over 19,000 people in the group, which is the biggest ever we've ever done. Probably the biggest ever IELTS class. So well done for that. Okay, guys. So a few minutes and then we will begin. If you're watching the replay of this, feel free to just skip ahead. But as you're watching the live version, just wait a few minutes. So let's see who's here. Hello to Aya. I'm sorry if I totally mess up your names and pronounce them incorrectly. Hanona, Jersey, Ria, Can, Annie, that's easy. Belle, Gagan, LV, Nahid, Sabrina, Kanar, Karen, that's another easy one. Mohammed, that's easy. Zinnia, Kazam, Lydia, Mario, Farkanda. Thank you guys for saying hello, and hello to everybody. Alright, so alright, so let's give everyone another couple of minutes and then we can begin. Hello to Win, who's just joined us. My wife. Matt says he's still driving. Yeah, don't watch IELTS videos and drive at the same time. It's not good for your health. Wow, we've nearly 500 people watching live. That is quite substantial. You're requested to speak slowly so that we can understand you. Yep, I will, don't worry. So let's give everyone just another couple of minutes and then we can get going. And feel free just to say hello, let me know where you're from, or anything else. And a few people saying, why is it just voice? Because it hasn't started yet. We've still got a couple of minutes before the time starts. I just started a little bit early so that people would get in on time and everything. And can you let me know that you can hear me okay? If everyone, just let me know that you can hear me and everything. Every time we do this, some people complain that they can't hear something that's normally because you haven't turned your volume up or something wrong with your device. But if you can let me know that everything seems to be working okay, your end, and then that'll be good. Only one person has complained so far, so that's probably that person's problem. How long will this session last? I've never done this one before, so I don't know exactly, but I'd say about 1 hour. better to choose another. You should use GoToMeeting. For 20,000 people, GoToMeeting would be extremely expensive, and it's not that much better. Okay, guys, so it is currently 1 o'clock, so let's get going. So first of all, welcome. You're very, very welcome to this live session. This session is going to be over the next 3 days. So at the same time tomorrow, we're going to have a session. On the same time Friday, we're going to have a session. I've never done this particular lesson before, so I don't know exactly how long it's going to take, but I'd say between 45 minutes and 60 minutes, something like that. So today we're going to look at, or I'll show you the slides in a second and show you exactly what we're going to do. But thank you so much to everybody who has turned up. We have nearly 1,000 people live, which is pretty crazy. I think we've nearly 20,000 people in this group, which is the biggest one we've ever done. So thank you very much, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. And thank you very much to everybody who says my voice is clear. Thank you. Every time we do one of these live lessons when there's 20,000 people, I get very, very nervous. Well, not really, but just worried more that it's going to work. So it seems to be working okay. So let's get going. All right, so today's lesson is called 7 Steps to Getting a Band 7, 8, or even 9 on your IELTS writing test. So my goal this week, is I'm going to show you the key things that help our students go from struggling with Task 2 writing to getting the scores they need. So if you're watching this video, it's probably for one of two reasons. Either you've never done the test before and you're really worried about it and you don't know what to do, or you have failed the test at least once or maybe even multiple times and you don't understand where you're going wrong and you need that little bit of help. So once our students start doing these, we find that they improve their score by an average of 1.39 bands. So we do a lot of data collection on our students in our VIP group, and we found that when students join our course compared to when they leave the course and they learn some of these things, the average is about 1.39 when we do the average for all the students. So it is highly significant and will really, really help you. So let's look at the plan of action for this week. So it's really important that you understand that this is a 3-day event. I thought about doing like a 3-hour lesson on one day, but we did that before, and it's very difficult for students to focus over the course of 3 hours. So we're going to split it into 3 days. So today is the first day. Day 1, thinking and planning. I'd say this is probably the most important part, and one that a lot of you don't focus on enough. So in this lesson, we're going to look at how to understand the question. We're going to have a little bit of a collaborative, interactive exercise. I'm going to get you to give me some ideas. I'm going to show you some questions, and we're going to see what ideas you guys have. And then we're going to look at how to generate ideas. And then we're going to look at how to plan and structure our answer so that you can focus on the next stage, which is writing. So today's Wednesday, lesson 1, day 1. Tomorrow is Thursday, so at the exact same time tomorrow we're going to focus on writing. And what are you going to be writing? Well, you're going to learn how to write an introduction, main body paragraphs, and conclusion. Those are the building blocks of your essay. So it's very, very important that you understand how to structure those, what they are, exactly what you're going to. So I'm going to explain everything. We're going to look at paraphrasing and topic sentences and explanations and examples and all of those different things that you need whenever you are writing. And then day 3 is really, really important. That will be on Friday. We're going to look particularly at vocabulary and grammar. Vocabulary, 25% of your total mark. Grammar, 25% of your total mark. Obviously very, very important. And it's important that when you finish writing, you don't stop there. You're not all the way home. All right, you have to do the editing at the end. So vocabulary and grammar, we're going to look at how to improve those before you do the test, but also after you finish, what to look out for, the common mistakes, so that you can finish really, really strong. Okay, So, the 7 key steps. You're going to be learning 7 key steps this week over the next 3 days. And the 7 key steps, once you master these 3 steps, you will be able to improve your band scores if you master them and if you put the work in. But let me just be very, very clear. This is not some magic solution where you can just watch a video and then immediately go and get a band 9 on your IELTS test. That's not how things work. That's not how life works. You have to put the work in. You have to understand what these things are. You have to apply them to your own work. You have to be able to practice them, get feedback on them, and really work hard at this. This is not a substitute for hard work. But when you combine these with hard work and actually doing them and being able to do them on test day, then you will really, really see significant improvement and get the results you need. Okay, number 1, thinking. That might sound really obvious, but the writing test is as much a thinking test as it is a writing test. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about planning. Many of you might think that you don't have enough time to plan or that planning is important. We're going to talk about that today. Number 3, introductions. How to write an introduction. Number 4, main body paragraphs, how to do that. Number 5, conclusions. Number 6, vocabulary. And number 7, grammar. So this week is all about trying to master these steps. Okay, so do these actually work? Alright, so it's really, really important that when you are getting coaching from someone, or when you join a school, or when you are trusting someone with your future, it's really important that they can prove to you that they know what they're talking about. The IELTS industry, more than any other industry, is full of people that don't really know what they're doing. So it's really important that you trust me and that you know that this stuff actually works, because we don't want to waste your time. And we also understand how important this is for your future. So it's really important that you know whether this stuff works or not. So in order to show you that, let's have a little look at some of our testimonials. So every single one of these students has got a 7 or above in all parts of the test. And this just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. No other course, either online or offline in the world, has this number of successful students. And when you consider that we do not work with a very large number of students, we only work with a very select group of students, this is pretty mind-blowing. Also, if you look at our YouTube channel, you'll find success story video after success story video after success story video after success. We have students lining up to talk to us, to tell us how much we've helped them, how much we've changed their lives, and how much this stuff actually works. So does this stuff work? I'm not going to try and convince you of that. All I do, I don't say that I'm the best teacher in the world or I have the best course in the world or anything like that. I just judge myself purely on student results. What results do my students get? And according to all of that, we've helped more students get the scores that they need than any other online or offline course in the world. So I'll leave it up to you whether you judge that or not. And the other thing you have to ask yourself is, why are we so successful? Or why are our students so successful? Or why does this stuff work more than anything? Well, it really comes down to the approach that we use, which I call our principled approach. And it's really to do with these guys. So this is my wife, who's probably watching now. This is my little son. And this is we were at a wedding last weekend with one of our friends. And these are some of the pictures we took. I don't know why Tom and I look so angry there. I don't think we're angry, we're just puzzled about something there. But basically, how we help our students is, the reason why I set this company up was for my family, to be able to provide for my family and look after my family. And that's the same approach that we use with everyone who comes into contact with our courses, with the website, anybody who works for us. We treat them like family. We want them to be treated in the same way that if my wife was doing a course or my son was doing a course, the way that we would hope for them to be treated. And this is the way we treat the people that work for us, our VIP students, people who just want free information. We look after people and we produce content and we produce things that really, really do help people. So that is one of the reasons why we are so successful, because we actually do care and we actually do look after people, and this is why this stuff works. Okay, so let's get straight into it. What I want now is I want a little bit of participation from you guys, because we're going to start off by talking about family, or sorry, not family. I just seen the picture of family. Thinking. All right. So we're going to start off by talking about thinking. So here's a little test to see whether you actually are thinking when you are first looking at questions. So here's a typical question. In many cities, people are living alone. What are the reasons for it? Is this a positive or negative development? So what I want you to do is I want you to ignore the second question for the purposes of this. I want you just to look at this first question. What are the reasons for it? So I want you to read this. In many cities, people are living alone. What are the reasons for it? So I want you to give me one reason, okay? Give me one reason why you think this, how you would answer this question. I don't want you to give a full essay or a full paragraph, just one reason, because it'll be very interesting to see the results. So over the next 2 minutes, just take some time, think about it, and just have a look at this and give me one reason for the first question, one idea. So thank you, Mavi, with the first idea. Thank you very much. Anushia, thank you. Deepak, thank you. Shafana, thank you. Kiara, thank you. Again, apologies if I'm mispronouncing your names. Kathleen, job offers. Garvita, many people living alone because of work. Boy, too busy to find a spice. Good one. Hello in Vietnam. I assume you're in Vietnam. If your name is Tun Boy, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your ideas. That is very, very useful, because it shows me that some of you are actually thinking about the question and some of you are not at all. And it's really, really important that you are actually thinking about the question. So let's look at, I did this with my VIP group a few weeks ago, and I'm going to show you some of the ideas that they have, but they're all very, very similar to the ideas that you guys have. So, and it's with the VIP guys, it was pretty much split 50-50. With you guys, I'd say 90% are not actually answering the question properly and not thinking about it. So let's look at two groups of ideas. Many of you are giving these kind of ideas. Better job opportunities, better education or better health, hospitals, things like that, to earn more money, better prospects, better jobs, things like that, better government services, things like that. So many of you have similar ideas to these guys, the guys in red, whereas very few of you actually have these kinds of ideas. To be free and independent, privacy, less distraction, do not have to worry about housemates and family. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to have a look at these two groups of answers, and one group has thought about the question and answered the question correctly, or thought about an idea that will help you answer the question correctly. The other group has not thought about the question, has not understood the question at all. Which one is it? Is blue correct or is red correct, and why? One group has answered the wrong question, basically. So blue or red, which one do you think is correct? And thank you guys for all your ideas. It really makes a big difference to have so many of you participating. Maywish says, I answered the blue color answer. Good, well done. Or I've just given the answer away there. Okay, so I've given the answer away. So, if you had an idea that was similar to the blue ones, you're correct. If you had an idea that is similar to the red ones, you haven't thought about the question, you haven't analyzed the question, you haven't answered the question correctly. Why is that? Well, all of these, let's have a look at the question again. In many cities, people are living alone. What are the reasons for that? All the red answers are basically answering the question, why do people move to cities? All right, people move to cities to have better job opportunities, to have better education, health, earn more money, better prospects, better government services. That's why people move to cities. Is the question about moving to cities? No, it's about people living alone in cities. So if you have a look at these blue ones, these are all about living alone in a city. Why do people do that? So if you answered the question like this, you've completely misunderstood the question. Now, am I saying you're a bad person or stupid or anything like that? No, you're not. But you just haven't learned how to think about the question, how to take the time to think and understand the question. So don't feel bad if you answered the question, with one of the red ones, and don't feel great if you answered the question with one of the blue ones. And what we're going to do now is talk about how to analyze and understand a question before we even start. Okay, so how to analyze and understand a question before we start. So number one, take the time to actually read and think about the question. As I said before, it's not because if you answered one of those, the red ones, it's not because you're less intelligent or you have a lower IQ or you're stupid or you don't know enough about the topic or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that. It's that you basically just didn't take the time to actually read and fully understand what the question was asking you to do. And don't worry if you did that, because I'm going to show you how you can do that so that you will understand the question. And believe it or not, these questions are designed to be simple and easy to understand. If you don't believe that, go and look at some real IELTS questions, not fake ones from fake sources, real IELTS questions. Actually sit down with, if you could sit down with me in one of my classes and we would break it down, you would see how they're actually designed to help you. But what happens? Is it that they are trying to trick you or ask you really complicated questions? No, it's because students overcomplicate it. IELTS is an incredibly easy test overcomplicated by students and sometimes overcomplicated by poor teachers. And I'm going to prove that to you by the end of these 3 days. So what I want from many of you is at the end of the 3 days to say, actually, it's much easier than I thought. One of our key principles is to make everything as simple as possible. Simple to understand and then simple to apply on test day. Also, many of you really struggle when you see an IELTS question, but if you took that out of the IELTS context and normalize it, you would actually find it very easy. When I first started teaching IELTS, one of the things that I couldn't understand with my students was I'd be chatting to them at the beginning of a class and we'd be chatting about everything. And then as soon as we opened our books and started looking at IELTS questions, they completely fell apart. So one thing that I noticed was if you asked a student, let's say you were in a coffee shop, one thing I used to do with my students was, like a few times during the semester, we'd go to a coffee shop and I'd ask them basically the same kind of things and they would have no problem talking about them. But if I put it in an IELTS question and put it on a piece of paper in front of them, they find it very, very difficult to do. So why is that? You need to normalize things. Okay. I've noticed many of you are asking lots and lots of questions. That's great, guys, but I'm going to ignore the questions because I'm going to teach, okay? I'll look at questions after, but let's just focus on what we're doing at the moment. So, how can you think properly about the question? How can you think effectively about the question and understand the question? So the first thing you need to do when you are looking at a question is think about what is the general topic. So the general topic is not the thing that you're going to write about, it's the thing that you're not going to write about. And I'll demonstrate what that means in a second with some examples. But first of all, it's really, really, really important that you understand the general topic. The second question when you're looking at an IELTS Task 2 question is, what is the specific thing or things they want me to write about? So within the general topic, what is the actual specific thing or things they want me to write about? And then you also have to ask yourself, what are the things they want me to do? All right. So what's the general topic? What is the specific thing they want me to write about? And what are the things they want me to do? If you ask yourself those three questions, you'll be able to fully understand and think properly about a question. Again, you can't just watch this video and then immediately do this in the real test. It's about practice. It's about you applying this to real questions and practicing it. So let's look at a real example, the one that we just did. So why did so many of you, I'd say it's about 80–90% of you looking at your answers, not answer this question properly? Well, what many of you did was you answered the general topic rather than the specific thing they were asking about. So the general topic is living and moving to cities. All right, people living in a city or people moving to a city. So what many of you did was you quickly looked at this, and instead of really engaging your brain and really thinking about it, what you did was people moving cities. Okay, here's why people do that. That's a general topic. It's not the specific thing. The specific thing within that general topic is, why do people live in cities alone? All right, not why they move to cities, why they live in that city alone. And most, if not all, IELTS questions are like this. The general topic might be on global warming, but it's specifically about CO2 emissions. The general topic might be about technology, but specifically about social media. Or the general topic might be social media, but the specific thing is about privacy within social media. So you need to really engage your brain, really think about the topic. So the general topic is living in cities. We're not going to write about that. The specific thing we're going to write about is living alone within the city. Then the third question, what do they want me to do? They want me to say, what are the reasons for it? And is this a positive or negative development? So by normalizing it and simplifying it and breaking it down, you make things easy for yourself. And the easier things are for yourself during your preparation, the easier they're going to be on test day. And the easier things are on test day, the higher your result is going to be. So just a reminder, what is a general topic? What is a specific thing? And what are the things they want me to do? So remember that. You can write that down. I'll be posting this after, so you can watch it again, but I will be deleting everything by the end of the week. Okay, so thinking of ideas. Now that we've understood the question, what we need to do now is we need to think of ideas, and this is something that many of you really struggle with, or think that you struggle with. Like most things on the IELTS test, it's not that this is actually very difficult, it's that you think it's difficult. If you think something is difficult, then it is going to be difficult. If you tell yourself, I'm terrible at this, or I'm not very good at this, then you're always going to be bad at it. But if you think about it differently and think, why do some people find this easy? Or why does this guy Chris keep saying that everything is simple and everything is easy? Because it is. So it's not about becoming smarter or improving your IQ. It's about changing your mindset, your attitude, the way you think about it. So people fail to think of reasons or ideas for one or more of the following reasons. Number one, not thinking. So we've just demonstrated that with that exercise. If you don't really think and understand the question, you will never be able to think of ideas for it. You'll be thinking of ideas, but not for that question. Number two, not simplifying the question, not breaking it down. Taking the time, and I mean that when you practice this, this will take you 20 seconds, 30 seconds, take you a little bit longer when you're first doing it, but it becomes a habit and it becomes automatic. So if you overcomplicate everything and you think it's really difficult, you're not going to be able to think of ideas. Not normalizing the question. We're going to talk about that in a second, how to do that, how to normalize the question, how to take it out of the IELTS context. Number 4, brainstorming. 99% of IELTS teachers will tell you brainstorming is great and brainstorming is effective. Most IELTS books will tell you brainstorming is a great idea. It's a terrible idea. Brainstorming is one of those things where it's accepted practice. Something that becomes accepted by a lot of people, including teachers and books and websites. I don't accept anything. When I look at anything to do with IELTS, I don't assume that it's good. I assume that it's neither good or bad, and then I actually use it with students and see if it works. Brainstorming does not work. It is a complete and utter waste of time, and it actually leads to poor ideas. Don't use it. Number 5, trying to think of impressive ideas. Again, we're going to show you an example of a student who thought like this. Sometimes this is the student's occupation. We're going to look at doctors, and for example, doctors always try and think of really impressive ideas. You don't need to think of impressive ideas, just the opposite. So if you don't think about the question, you overcomplicate it, you brainstorm, and you try and think of the world's best idea, you're in big trouble. But if you think about the question, you simplify it, you normalize it, you don't use brainstorming, and you just try and think of the idea that is the most obvious, most straightforward one that you can think of, the one that you can actually use in the test, then you're in good shape. You're going to be fine. So hopefully you can see that it doesn't matter what it is on this test. The way that I do it is I just break it down and make it simple. Look at the things that do work, look at the things that don't work, and move forward in that way. And that's what most students say when they come when they join one of my courses, especially the VIP course. They just say, "Oh, I can't believe how easy it is. I can't believe how simple it is, or I can't believe how much I overcomplicated everything before." So I've talked about what you shouldn't do. What should you do instead when it comes to thinking of ideas? So in many cities, people are living alone. What are the reasons for it? Is this positive or negative development? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to break this down and we're going to normalize it. So what are the reasons for it? So what are they actually asking us to do? Imagine that the two of us were, you and I were sitting in a coffee shop. As a teacher and a student, I buy you a coffee, and we're not even thinking about IELTS. We're not even thinking about ideas. We're just having a normal conversation. And I said to you, why do some people live alone in cities? You would probably be able to give me at least 2 or 3 really, really good ideas. Or if I said to you, let's say we pick positive for the sake of demonstration. Why is living in a city alone a positive thing? If I asked you those questions and I framed them, I normalized them as just normal questions, I simplified them and I broke them down, you would have no problem giving me a really, really good idea in 2 seconds. You might have to think about it for 10 seconds, but I don't think it would actually take you that long. But imagine you and I as a teacher, and I'm sitting with you in class, and I give you a piece of paper, and the piece of paper says task 2 writing test, and it says this. All of a sudden you start to be like, oh, this is complicated, this is, oh, I don't know anything about this, okay, let's brainstorm, okay, oh, I'm running out of time, and it's all terrible. But if you normalize it and just say this, why do some people live alone in cities? Boom, 1 idea, that's your first thing done. Why is living in a city alone a positive thing? Boom, that's your second idea done. Another way to normalize it is to think, imagine you could stop 100 people in London today and ask them those questions. What would they say? Imagine you're, in any city. You see some people with a clipboard and they're asking questions. Imagine you stopped 100 people in London or Toronto or New York City or Sydney or any English-speaking country, and you said, why do some people live alone in cities? Would the person say, oh my God, I don't know, That's so complicated. I'll never be able to answer that. No, they would just give you an answer within 2 seconds. Same if you said, why is living in a city alone a positive thing? If you asked 100 people, they would give you an answer really, really quickly. But would they give you really impressive answers? No, if you added up all the answers and you looked at the most popular one would be probably the most obvious, simple, straightforward idea that is really easy to explain, really easy to support with an example. Those are the ideas that you should be using, not the really impressive ones, because there's no extra marks for impressive ideas. There are extra marks for ideas that answer the question, are relevant, and that you can actually develop. So, why would anyone find it difficult to answer this question? Would most answers be the same? Yes. So, let's look at a case study. So, I'm going to use some case studies of my VIP students to demonstrate that these are real people having real problems, and they had the same problems as you, and that this is really, really going to help you, this stuff. So, Mohammed, he was a doctor, very intelligent, very successful man in his 40s. He was one of the best obstetricians in his country. If you don't know what an obstetrician is, it's someone who delivers babies. So very intelligent, very successful man, but he was having real trouble with the IELTS test. He kept failing writing. He kept getting 6.5 in writing over and over and over again. He came to me and I looked at his grammar and vocabulary and I said, this is really strange. Your grammar is at a band 8 level. Your vocabulary is at a band 8 level. This is strange that you keep getting 6.5. So he started my course and he memorized all the structures and he was using all the structures correctly, but he kept getting 6.5. So I was looking at his writing and I said, okay, you know how to answer this question. You know how to structure everything. You know how to write an introduction, a main body paragraph, a conclusion. Your grammar is great. Your vocabulary is great. Why are you getting a 6.5? And it was all to do with idea generation. Simple as that. He spent around 10 minutes brainstorming. So when he was doing the test, both the real test and when he was practicing with me, he would spend about 10 minutes brainstorming. So 10 minutes not thinking about the question, not planning, not doing anything, just brainstorming. So what happened there, he would think of a bunch of irrelevant ideas, and then he had to spend time searching through all of these irrelevant ideas that weren't very useful. And then he would look at his watch and he was like, oh, I'm running out of time. Then he would start writing and everything would be a mess. Because he was trying to think of the most high level ideas. And I explained this to him and I said, oh, you're a doctor. Okay, so one pattern that I've found with very, very intelligent people like doctors, engineers, software developers, lawyers, people like that, is because their whole career they have been under or they've had to think of very impressive ideas, and when they say something or write something, it has to be very, very impressive. That's the complete opposite of what you do on the IELTS test. You think of the simple, straightforward, obvious idea. So he was wasting his time, and then he was thinking of ideas that he could not explain concisely or clearly. So everything was a complete mess. So I helped him by simply stating, what would the average man on the street think? If we walked up to the average person on the street in London and asked them this question, what idea would they give? And immediately he said, this idea. Okay, why don't you use that? And he said to me, it's not impressive enough. So I showed him the official marking criteria and I said, where does it say anything about impressive answers, about impressive ideas, about high level ideas? So what he did was he just thought of the most obvious, simple, straightforward ideas. And what did he do? He got a 7.5 next time. So it was as easy as that. It was literally a 10-minute conversation that I had with him. And this, not everyone's the same. You might have problems with structure, grammar, vocabulary, but it's normally just 2 or 3 things that you're doing incorrectly. And once you break it down and once you know what to do, everything becomes much, much easier. So when you're trying to think of ideas, simplify, think about the question, normalize the question, rephrase the question so that it's just a normal, easy to answer question, and then you'll be able to think of ideas pretty quickly. But don't use brainstorming. You'll be able to think of ideas in 2 seconds, not 10 minutes like what brainstorming leads to. Okay. So planning. Why is planning important? So I'm going to sell planning to you now, because the problem with planning is not that you don't know how to plan, it's that you don't plan at all. The main reason why you don't plan at all is you think you don't have time. So let's have a look again over here. So every single one of these videos is a student who got a 7 or above in writing. Every single one of those students. So my students volunteer to make success story videos about how I help them, and so that they can help you guys and you can get some information from them. I'd say 90% of those videos, one of the questions that I ask is, why did you get a band 7? Or why did you get a band 8? 90% of those videos will say planning. Alright? Not planning was the only reason, but 90% of them do mention that it was a critical factor. So if 90% of my successful students are saying planning is key, and I'm saying planning is key, do you think it's worth doing? Absolutely. So let me explain that a little bit more to you. So I want you to imagine that you're going on a trip to New York City. Alright? What would you do before you go to New York City? You'd book your flights, you'd book your hotel, you'd plan your activities, you'd get a map of New York, you'd book a taxi to the airport, you might book transportation from the airport to your hotel, you plan out everything. You would plan everything. Planning is an investment of time, not a waste of time. So imagine you're planning that trip to New York, and let's say you're planning it with your wife. And instead of doing all those things, booking your flights, your hotel, your activities, you just start running towards the airport. So you said, honey, we're going to go to New York, and you just run out the door, running towards the airport. That would be insane. Your wife would probably call the doctor. So why do you think that is insane, but what many of you do is not plan at all and just start writing? Why do you think that's sane? And why do you think that's a normal thing to do? Think about planning as Google Maps for your essay. That's what I talk to when I'm talking to my students. I say, you should have Google Maps for your essay before you even start writing. Would you ever think that checking Google Maps is a waste of time? Imagine you're in New York and you're with your wife and you want to find Times Square. And your wife says, oh, let me just look up Google Maps to see where to go. Would you say, that's a waste of time, let's just go, let's just walk, we'll find it eventually? No, you would never think that. If you do, you need help. This allows you to do all of your thinking and planning before the next stage, which is writing. Because the way that the human brain works works effectively by focusing on one thing at a time. We're not very good at multitasking. People do their best work when they focus on one thing at a time. Okay? So if you're focusing on thinking and planning first, that means that you're freeing up all that space. Imagine your brain is like a computer. What happens when you have too many programs open on your computer or too many tabs open? Everything starts to slow down and it gets very slow and it might even crash. If you are writing and thinking and analyzing the question and thinking of grammar and vocabulary and all these different things at the same time, you're going to crash too, or your system is not going to work as well. So what we want to do is we want to do our thinking first, then our planning, then our writing, then our editing. So 4 stages of planning. Number 1, you need to understand the question. We've already talked about that. So the very first thing you need to do is just breathe, look at the question, and understand it. I'm really glad that we did that little exercise at the beginning of the test, because normally when I say this, students are like, oh, I always do that. Well, 90% of you didn't do it there, so that proves it. Number two, you need to generate ideas. The ideas are kind of the seed for your essay. If you have bad seeds, you're going to have bad plants. If you sow seeds that are diseased or are the wrong seeds, imagine you are trying to grow rice. And instead of planting rice, you plant potato seeds in Southeast Asia. Potatoes don't grow very well in Southeast Asia. Your ideas are, if you have a bad idea, the whole thing is going to be wrong. So it's important that you generate ideas, not only effectively, but quickly. You need to do it quickly. Time is against you here. Number three, structure planning. This is going to be your map. This is where you learn a structure, you learn exactly what to do, and then you populate that structure. So sometimes called like a skeleton structure or a skeleton argument, where you learn the structure and then you populate that structure with your ideas. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. When you get really good, so this is going to take you understanding the question. The aim for my students on my VIP course is like 1 minute to understand the question, 2 minutes to generate ideas, 5 minutes structure planning. When you get really, really good at it, that becomes even quicker. And then that gives you some time to do vocabulary, which is optional, by the way. But one of the reasons why many of you fail to get everything done on time is because you're thinking so much about vocabulary during the writing stage, especially synonyms. You're trying to think of the correct synonym or how to change this word or thinking of a word, and all that time you're wasting. So once you get really, really good at planning, what you can do is you can look at the question and you can look at your skeleton, your structure planning, your map, and what you can do is you can start thinking of different keywords that you might use, or look at the keywords and try and think of 3 or 4 different ways to say that. So again, it's about not multitasking, it's about focusing on one thing at a time. If you focus just on vocabulary and then you start writing, and imagine starting to write and you have 12 or 15 really high level words that you can just put into your essay and they're already there waiting for you. Plus you have your map. So it's like Google Maps for your essay. So let's demonstrate what we do. So stage 1, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some time, I'm going to read the question, understand the question, I'm going to think about what's the general topic, what is the specific thing, what are the specific things they want me to do. Okay, I've done that. Ideas. So the first idea I could think about, what are the reasons for it? Privacy. People want privacy. Why is this positive? I'm not going to talk about whether you should pick positive or negative. I'm just going to pick positive for now and for demonstration purposes. Why is this positive? I just thought, why is it nice to live alone? Because you don't have the stress of dealing with family, friends, housemates, people like that. So that was the idea I thought of that. So stage 2, done. So I would do this in about 30 seconds. Look at this, understand it. What are the first ideas I can think of? Are they relevant? Can I explain them? Yeah, fine, done. Move on to structure planning. Okay, introduction. And we're going to talk a lot about the structure tomorrow, so don't worry if you don't really get this just yet. But this is an example of what I would do. Introduction, I'm going to paraphrase the question and I'm going to answer both questions. We'll look at that in more detail tomorrow. Main body paragraph 1, privacy allows people to live without other people being involved in their business. An example, young professionals in London. I wouldn't even need to write all of this. I could just write very short notes, but this just for demonstration purposes. And also, this is not a real paragraph. This is my structure planning. These are just notes. Main body paragraph 2, reduces stress, freedom to do whatever you want without judgment of others, focus on things you enjoy, example, stress of living with many other people. Conclusion, summary of the above. So that's going to take me about 2 minutes to jot that down, and again, it's an investment of time. It's not a waste of time, it's an investment of time. How easy is it, how much easier is it going to be to write your essay once you've got all that done? So the benefits of planning. You know exactly what you're going to write. You're not writing without knowing exactly what that is. Is that a benefit? Huge benefit. You know what you know that you've answered the question. So by understanding the question, by thinking about it properly, you know that when you start writing, you've the confidence that you've already got those task achievement marks in the bag. You know that your writing will be coherent. It's going to be easy to understand because your writing, and this is a really important point, your writing is a reflection of your thinking. Your writing, what you write down on the piece of paper, is a reflection of your thinking. If your thinking is clear and you know exactly what you're going to write, your writing is going to be clear. But if you're really confused and you don't know what you're doing and you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, let's just start writing. Your writing is going to be a mess. Believe me, that is true. So coherence means, is it clear? Is it easy to understand? You know that your writing will be cohesive because you've done the structure planning. Everything will be linking up nicely. Your topic sentences will be there, your explanations, your examples, everything will be nice, coherent and cohesive. So you've got those coherence and cohesion marks in the bag. You can focus on writing, which we will look at tomorrow. So tomorrow, now that we've done all this thinking and idea generation and planning, we can focus on writing. So what did we learn today? The importance of taking the time to think and understand the question, how to quickly and easily think of ideas, and how to plan out your answer. One little thing I'll mention is today we focus just on a double question. The way that I teach things is there's a unique system and a unique way to even generate ideas and structure and everything for all the different types of task 2 essay. Opinion essays, discussion essays, problem solution, advantages, disadvantages, double questions. Over the next 3 days, we'll just focus on double questions because we can't look at everything. I can't do a 4-hour lesson over the on each of the 3 days. My voice wouldn't cope with that. Also, it's not possible for you to learn everything for every type of essay in 3 days. So just do understand that we're just focusing on one type out of the 5 essays. So what will we do tomorrow? How to write an effective introduction, how to write effective main body paragraphs, and how to write effective conclusions. So I've already been working on this today, so I'm going to show you lots of samples, case studies, exactly what to do. We're going to work on paraphrasing, we're going to work on topic sentences, explanations, examples, summarizing everything in your conclusions, and the real building blocks of your writing. So I mentioned at the beginning of this that I would like you to complete a task. This is optional, but I would really recommend it because if you watch something, so if you just watch a video, you're only really retaining about 10%. So you're not really going to be able to remember everything, and memorizing stuff is kind of the lowest cognitive skill. What you need to do is you need to go higher than that. You need to understand what we've been talking about today, and you need to be able to apply it to your own work. If you think about the cognitive skills like a pyramid, memory is at the bottom, then we have understanding, application, analyzation, evaluation. So in order to really understand what we've done and apply it to your own work, I would like you to do a task. This is totally optional, but I would strongly recommend it if you've just spent the last 45 minutes watching this lesson. This extra 5 minutes is really going to help you because you're going to activate everything that you've learned, and this really does work. So let me show you your task. So your task is, here's the question. In spite of the advances made in agriculture, many people around the world still go hungry. Why is this the case? What can be done about this problem? So this is a question from the latest Cambridge book, Cambridge 13. And what I would like you to do is, number one, take the time to think and understand the question. Apply that three-step process to this. Then generate ideas. Think of one idea for this one and one idea for that one, and then put it into a plan. Write a plan and put it below this video. Please do not email it to me. I do like receiving emails and all of those different things, but there are 20,000 of you and one of me. Please do not email me your plan and tell me that you want one-on-one feedback on it. If 20,000 people do that, then it's going to be a little bit crazy. So please do the task, but if you do the task, just post it below this video. I'll try to give it feedback, but I can't guarantee that I'll be able to give individual feedback for just the reasons of the laws of physics and time. I'm one person and you're 20,000, but doing that is really, really going to help you. Okay, guys, so let's do a little bit of Q&A. But we only have about 10 minutes because I've got lots and lots and lots of other stuff in my life at the moment, mostly to do with work. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And I think the main thing to take from it is you can take something that's really, really, really complicated, and with someone like me that has, for the past 5 years, I've done nothing but think about how can I help people with the IELTS test. So by looking at this pretty much every day, all day, for years, I've figured out that it doesn't need to be as complicated as you think it is. And by breaking things down and making them as simple as possible, not making them simple, but simple as possible, and then you can understand it. So remember the pyramid. Do I have my... No, that's I was going to do some extra lesson. I can't help myself. My voice is going to go, so I only have 10 minutes. So tomorrow, join me at the same time, 1 p.m. UK time tomorrow. This lesson will be posted immediately after I finish in the group, but I will be deleting it probably within the next 24 hours. Please do not ask me not to do that. I'm going to do it anyway because I want you to do the work. I don't care whether you hate me or not. I want you to do the work and I want you to improve. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer as many as I can, but I only have we're moving into Bloom's taxonomy. You are correct, Umi Hani. Bloom's taxonomy, yeah, the pyramid of cognitive skills. Well done. Very good question. What do we do if you don't have any knowledge about the subject? Okay, so your example was nuclear weapons. So the questions are designed so that 90% of the world's population could give some sort of answer. The thing to remember is it is not an IQ test or a knowledge test or a, how much do you know about this topic test. It is an English test. So when somebody sees a question, for example, on nuclear weapons, they're like, oh, I know nothing about this topic, I'm going to fail. You don't need to be a nuclear physicist to answer that question. You just need a basic knowledge of nuclear weapons. The question is normally like, should nuclear weapons be outlawed or banned or something like that. You don't need to be a nuclear physicist to understand what nuclear weapons are, why they're bad, because they kill everybody, and what should be done about them. That's the base. It's a very low level of knowledge required. However, there is something that you can do. You can understand that there are task 2 topics that come up again and again and again and again. Education, for example, health, the environment, technology, government policy, things like that. So let me show you something. Let's go here and let's go to the BBC News. let's have a look up here. Technology news, science news, health news, education news. So if you want to learn about education, what do? You go and read the education or technology. You go and read a couple of stories each day about technology. If you want to learn about education, go and look at some of this. So let's say you go in here. If you're reading this, you're not only learning about this topic, you're also generating or learning great vocabulary. You're looking at how they develop their ideas. Everything is becoming much easier and much better. So when somebody joins my VIP course, one of the things that we tell them is get yourself a book that's blank, read the news every day for 15 minutes and focus on the topics that come up again and again and again, and in your book make notes. Make notes about the vocabulary, the idea development, the themes that were in it. If you do that, there's no way you're going to get a question and you'll be like, I know nothing about this. It's not a knowledge test, it's not an IQ test, it's an English test. You need a very limited knowledge of things to do well on it. Good question. I only have 3 minutes left though. Let me see if I can find another good question. And many of you are doing the task, but you're not doing it properly. So I see many of you are just putting ideas. Do the full structure plan. Introduction, main body paragraph 1, main body paragraph 2, conclusion, your ideas, what your explanations would be, what your examples would be. Push yourself. You know, the harder you push yourself, the harder you work, the more difficult it is, the easier it's going to be on test day. What's that saying? You know, I think every language has it, of basically like work hard in peacetime and then war will be easier, or something like that. I'm sure in your own language you have that. During your preparation, do the really difficult, hard things, and then on test day things will be easy. You know, don't take shortcuts and look for tips and hacks and all those things. I don't teach that because they don't work. But if you work hard and you do the right thing, then same with losing weight. How are you going to lose weight? Are you going to do it by eating cake and sitting on the sofa? Or are you going to do it by eating healthy food and exercising every day? One's really easy and one's really difficult. One's really effective and one's not. So, and you could apply that to anything in the world. If you can post in the comments one thing that you can do that's beneficial, that's really easy, let me know, but I have never discovered it. Anyway, thank you very much for all of your questions. Obviously I'm one man and you are 20,000 people. I can't answer every single one of your questions, and I do have, you know, my VIPs to look after, my family to spend time with, sleep, things like that. So I can't answer every single question, but I will go through them, and if there's any common themes or anything like that, I'll try and address it tomorrow. But tomorrow, join me at 1 p.m. for the lesson on writing, how to actually write the building blocks of your lesson. There was about 1,800 people live at the peak of the lesson. That's really humbling. Thank you very much, guys. I don't think there's ever been a IELTS class in the world that many people joined. Even, you know, the official IELTS, like IDP or British Council websites or anything like that, have never had lessons that many people joined. So I'm really humbled, and I really do appreciate it. And I will make sure that I keep working hard for you guys and do everything I can within the bounds of reason. Thank you very much, guys. I'm gonna have to go because I want to keep my voice for the next 2 lessons as well, and I have a lot more talking to do on other things today. So again, thanks, guys, and if you need anything, feel free to get in touch, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.